Good morning. Thank you for joining us today to discuss Consolidated Water Company's results for the year ended December 31st, 2019. Joining us today is the Chief Executive Officer of Consolidated Water Company, Rick McTaggart, and the company's Chief Financial Officer, David Sassnett. Following their remarks, we'll open the call to your questions. Before we conclude today's call, I'll provide some important cautions regarding the forward-looking statements made by management during this call. I'd like to remind everyone that today's call is being recorded and will be made available for telecom replay via instructions in the company's press release issued this morning, which is available in the investor relations of the company's website. Now, I'd like to turn the call over to Consolidated Water Company CEO, Rick McTaggart. Sir, please go ahead.
Thanks, Grant. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I know most of you are following the impact that the COVID-19 virus is having on the world, and while we are concerned about the impact on our business, we remain optimistic about our long-term prospects. We believe that the travel interruptions and a decline in tourism in the Caribbean will likely adversely impact our desalination business in the short term, and we continue to closely monitor this very fluid situation. Now turning to our 2019 results, as you saw from the earnings release we issued this morning, 2019 was another great year for Consolidated Water. We made strong progress in growing our overall business and expanding our platform to support future growth and market reach. Overall, we reported record revenue with improved profitability. Our retail and manufacturing segments drove this revenue increase, with manufacturing segment revenue nearly doubling to $13.6 million. We expect our manufacturing segment to continue to strengthen this year, supported by purchase orders received to date that are already comparable to all of last year's. The events and opportunities presented to us in 2019 underscored the importance of further diversifying our revenue by adding complementary service and product offerings, as well as expanding our geographic presence and customer base. This process actually began in 2016 with the acquisition of a controlling interest in Aerex Industries, which comprises our manufacturing segment. And then in January of this year, we acquired the remaining 49% of Aerex. Over time, we have strengthened Aerex's capabilities and resources and expanded its product offerings, resulting in improving results. We expect Aerex to contribute to increased shareholder value in the coming years. To further expand our product offerings and presence in the United States, in October of last year, we acquired a controlling interest in PERC Water Corporation, a leading water treatment and reuse infrastructure provider and manager that operates primarily in the western U.S. In addition to its existing business offerings, PERC provides us with a platform in the U.S. for expanding our core business of designing, constructing, and operating desalination plants to water-short regions of the U.S. Our strategies to expand such service revenues is supported by a strong balance sheet and growing pipeline of projects, which I'll get into more a little later in the call. Now I'd like to turn over the call to David, who will take us through the financial details for 2019, after which I will return to discuss some more recent developments and our outlook for 2020. David?
Thanks, Rick. Good morning, everyone. In 2019, our revenue increased 5% to a record $68.8 million. This was driven by revenue increases of $6.3 million in our manufacturing segment and $835,000 in our retail segment. The increase in manufacturing revenue was due to a larger number of orders that resulted in expanded project production activity. Our retail segment revenue was higher due to a slight increase in the volume of water sold by Cayman Water and higher energy prices. This increase was partially offset by the lack of revenue in 2019 from Consolidated Water Bali due to the cessation of this business in 2018 and its sale in 2019. If you look at our income statement, we generated a gain on sale of asset dispositions in 2019 of $445,000 and this number was primarily from the sale of CW Bali's assets and its stock, which happened in June of 2019. The decrease in our bulk water revenue was due to the lower rates that came into effect in February for water supplied by the Red Gate and North Sound plants, and the new contract that came into effect in July for the Northside Waterworks plant. Our previous contracts had expired when we were fortunate enough to win the tender process and get new contracts for these plants with the Water Authority in Cayman. The slight decrease in services revenue for 2019 reflects non-recurring activity that generated more than $1.2 million in revenue in 2018, as well as lower fees generated in 2019 under our management services agreement with our British Virgin Islands affiliate, OCBVI. We were able to add a new revenue source for our services segment through our acquisition of 51% of PERC Water Corporation in October. PERC contributed $1.4 million to our services segment revenue for 2019. Our gross profit in 2019 increased 6% to $28.3 million as compared to $26.7 million in 2018, with gross margin as a percentage of revenue improving slightly from 40.7% in 2018 to 41.1% in 2019. Our net income attributable to stockholders totaled $12.2 million, or 80 cents per diluted share. This number compares to $11.3 million, or 75 cents per diluted share for 2018. If you look at our balance sheet, cash and cash equivalents total $42.9 million as of December 31st, 2019, as compared to $31.3 million as of December 31st, 2018. The increase in our cash and cash equivalents was primarily due to negative income generated by continuing operations and the sale of our CW Belize business for $7 million, which occurred in February of 2019. Looking forward, our projected liquidity requirements for 2020 include capital expenditures for existing operations of approximately $4.7 million, $3.9 million for non-cancelable raw materials purchase orders, $3 million to be extended for our development activities in Mexico related to the Rosarito project, and we have presently $1.3 million in dividends payable. Our liquidity requirements for 2020 may also include future quarterly dividends if such dividends are declared by our board. Our dividend payments amounted to $5.1 million for the year ended December 31st, 2019. That's a summary of our financial results. I'd like to turn the call back over to Rick now. Rick?
Thanks, David. Our overall growth in 2019 demonstrates how we've remained focused on our mission of providing water services to areas of the world where the supply of naturally occurring potable water is scarce, and particularly where reverse osmosis technology is economically and environmentally feasible. Our push into new markets and product offerings have helped us further carve out a niche as a company capable of solving some of the most daunting and challenging water problems in the world. We are seeing an increased number of new opportunities for desalination in the U.S., as well as for other types of water projects, using this or similar project delivery models to what we have used in the Caribbean traditionally. And this is especially true for the southwestern U.S. We believe California, in particular, with its 840 miles of Pacific coastline, will be a source of extensive desalination project opportunities for us. In fact, 11 desalination plants are already in operation in California, with 10 more being proposed. To be sure, our desalination opportunities aren't limited to ocean coastlines. Arizona, which has perpetually been short on water and facing a Colorado River supply shortage, has been looking at ways to treat its estimated 600 million acre-feet of brackish water deposits using desalination. Because the dissolved solid content of brackish groundwater is considerably lower than seawater, brackish water is actually considered to be more economical and to desalinate than seawater. In addition to producing potable water, water management challenges are also creating a growing demand and opportunity for wastewater treatment and reuse projects. For California, Arizona, Texas, and Florida, states actively pursuing such projects, the anticipated demand for new wastewater treatment facilities and operations is actually several times higher than the corresponding category for potable water. The addition of PERC water supports our efforts to address these and many other emerging opportunities. PERC develops, designs, and builds state-of-the-art facilities that recycle wastewater for industrial use and groundwater replenishment, and they can provide the ongoing operational and management services to keep these facilities operating at peak performance. PERC is completed and continues to support several water infrastructure projects, including new facilities, facility upgrades, short and long-term operation services, and asset management engagements. They've won numerous industry awards for their innovative designs and highly efficient project delivery model. Since we acquired them in October, PERC has proven to be highly complementary and synergistic to our existing business and overall mission, allowing us to offer our customers a comprehensive solution for deploying or upgrading their water infrastructure. PERC also provides a solid platform upon which we can expand our core business of designing, constructing, and operating desalination plants for water-short regions. It's also important to note that PERC water is highly complementary to Airex, which fabricates water treatment equipment for a diverse number of industries involved in wastewater treatment infrastructure. We have introduced PERC to our specialized capabilities and greater access to capital and other important resources, allowing them to take greater advantage of these fast-growing markets. PERC is presently pursuing several new water and wastewater recycling projects being developed under various project delivery models, including design, build, operate, and is also pursuing opportunities to obtain management contracts with large utilities that could generate for us substantial management and consulting fees. Turning to our international activity, our Mexico desalination project recently received congressional extension of key financing authorizations through the passing of the legislative bill Decreto 37. The extension allows the state of Baja California additional time to establish the financing and securitization structure required for payments to us under the water project's water supply contract. We believe this extension demonstrates the state's continued commitment to the completion of this important project. The Rosarito project involves constructing a desalination plant designed to produce 100 million gallons per day of potable water in 2 phases of 50 million gallons per day, and will provide a major, much-needed new source of drinking water for the coastal region of Baja California, Mexico, for at least 37 years. In addition to Mexico, many other water-scarce areas of the world need solutions, especially as water demand continues to increase with the growth in populations, urban expansion, and food production. However, desalination doesn't fit every need, especially for landlocked areas, and community water planners typically strive to obtain a portfolio of water sources. Bearing this in mind, with PERC water, we now have an additional new leg to support our growth objectives. Their advanced wastewater treatment and reuse expertise gives us another offering to support the growth and quality of life of communities where desalination is not the best option. PERC water exemplifies the high-quality opportunities we are pursuing to drive future growth and enhance shareholder value over the coming years. Our Caribbean operations, while in a mature market and likely to suffer short-term impacts from the COVID-19 virus pandemic, will continue to provide us a predictable source of cash flow. These operations, along with our ample liquidity and strong balance sheet, will help us to weather the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic and provide a solid foundation upon which we can advance our projects and plans for expansion. I'd like to now open the call up for questions. Grant?
We will now begin the question and answer session. To ask a question, you may press star, then 1 on your touch-tone phone. If you're using a speakerphone, please pick up your handset before pressing the keys. To withdraw your question, please press star, then 2. At this time, we will pause momentarily to assemble our roster. Our first, one moment, please. Our first question comes from Gary Sweeney with Roth Capital. Please go ahead.
Hey, Jerry, can you hear us?
I can, yeah. I apologize. I was sort of jumping on and off the call. As you know, we're working on our conference on the other end. Obviously, there's a core base of business. I think the bulk water is probably a good portion of it's driven to sort of municipal use on the Bahamas and I guess Grand Cayman. But there's also a portion that is retail that may be retail and or maybe tourist driven. Have you been able to look at your numbers and see what percentage of your revenue is sort of base core business that would assume to like general population use versus maybe some of the business that is used more on the tourist side that may have some fluctuations?
Well, Jerry, this is David. Good morning, by the way.
Yeah.
We've looked at these numbers. If you look at Grand Cayman, there's about 65,000 people that live on the island, and I would say that more than half those people live in our service area, West Bay and Camana Bay and 7 Mile Beach. I don't know if it's possible to quantify the exact impact of tourists on the amount of water that we sell. It's fair to say, I mean, if you think about it, if more than 30,000 people are in our service area, I don't know if the fact that you have 1,000 or 2,000 tourists there have a huge impact. As we said earlier, the biggest impact on our business is rainfall patterns. Without question, though, if there were a decline in tourism in the Cayman Islands, that's going to affect the overall activity on the island in general and the economy. So it's not just the lack of water sales, I think, due to the tourists. I think the whole activity on the island goes down. So it could have a pretty significant impact on us. I don't know if it's possible to really quantify it because we've never been able to figure out. We've never been able to figure out exactly. You know, the tourist levels. They've always been pretty steady in Grand Cayman. Occasionally, they've gone up a little bit with the additional development we have down there. But still, the majority of the water we sell is to residents and businesses.
Okay.
Yeah, our
retail
business.
Yep. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, our retail business, which is really the most sensitive part right now, I think it's about 32% of our revenue, something like that. I don't have the number right in front of me, but it's in the K.
Okay.
Let me see. 38%. Sorry.
That is helpful.
It's going to have.
Go ahead. Sorry.
It's going to have a big impact on the island in general, not only in our numbers, but the entire economy of the island. Tourism shuts down there.
Yep. I think in today's environment, people are looking for stability, and I think the key takeaway is there is some leverage to some tourism, but there's a core base of business here that will continue. And I think that's exactly what I'm looking for in terms of just trying to figure out how much stability there is in the general revenue side. So it's helpful. That's it from my end. We got a bunch of little fires to put out, so I appreciate your time, and I'll follow up with you if that's an option.
Thanks for calling in, Jerry. Appreciate it.
Again, if you have a question, please press star, then 1. Our next question comes from John Baer with Ascend. Please go ahead.
Thank you, and good morning. Glad you're out of
John.
Also, I know that you, with energy prices coming down, should that help offset some of the potential operating costs or whatnot and perhaps loss of some revenue in the Caymans and other areas where that's a factor?
John, not really. Almost all the energy costs in our bulk and retail operations are passed through to the consumers. So an increase in energy prices or decrease in energy prices will not have a big impact on our profitability.
Okay. And then
it will affect will affect our sales, but the gross profit margin won't be impacted that much.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. And interesting comments on the brackish water opportunities there. Does this have potential to be more broad-based than just in, say, the southwestern region that you mentioned in the call? I mean, is this something that could be applied in other parts of the country, up here in the Northeast or whatever? Have you even evaluated that, or?
Well, I can tell you the areas, John, that I'm familiar with. I mean, Florida, for example, they've already started tapping a brackish aquifer, which is deeper than the main aquifer here in South Florida. So they have water treatment plants that utilize brackish water RO. In Texas, same thing. I mean, there's tremendous brackish aquifers in Texas, and I think even into the Midwest. And then Arizona, because of PERC, I mean, they have excellent relationships in Arizona and California. I mean, we're more focused on those areas right now, but there are broader opportunities. I mean, in Florida, Aerex has built equipment, brackish water RO equipment for municipalities that, use these deeper aquifers, and there is a broader opportunity there.
I mean, is this applicable in conjunction with oil and gas related projects, or is it totally separate?
It's more specialized, John. I mean, they're taking out a lot more than just dissolved solids there. So.
Right. Okay.
That's probably not a market we want to be in right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Other than a lot of these companies are trying to utilize, looking at ways to cut costs. So obviously, if they could reuse, and I mean, I know they're doing this, but find better ways to reuse their
produced water.
Yeah, right. Produced water, whether it's from frac operations or just water drive related, production. So, okay, very good. Thank you very much for taking the call.
Sure, John. Take care.
Yeah, you too.
Again, if you have a question, please press star, then 1. All right, at this time, this concludes our question and answer session. I'd like to turn the call back over to Mr. Taggart. Sir, please go ahead.
Thanks, Grant. Just like to thank everybody for joining us today. I'm sure that you've got lots of things to do, and hopefully when we speak to you again in May with our first quarter results, a lot of this stuff will be past. Take care, and all the best. Bye-bye.
So there's a little phrase.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now, before we conclude today's call, I would like to provide the company's safe harbor statements that include important cautions regarding forward-looking statements made during today's call. The information that we have provided in this conference call includes forward-looking statements within the meaning of the Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995, including but not limited to statements regarding the company's future revenues, future plans, objective expectations and events, assumptions, and estimates. Forward-looking statements can be identified by the use of word or phrases, usually containing the words belief, estimate, project, intend, expect, should, will, or similar expressions. Statements that are not historical facts are based on the company's current expectations, beliefs, assumptions, estimates, forecasts, and projections for its business and the industry and markets related to its business. Any forward-looking statements made during this conference call are not guarantees of future performance and involve certain risks, uncertainties, and assumptions which are difficult to predict. Actual outcomes and results may differ materially from what is expressed in such forward-looking statements. Important factors which may affect these actual outcomes and results include, without limitation, continued acceptance of the company's products and services in the marketplace, changes in its relationship with the governments of the jurisdictions in which it operates, the outcome of its negotiations with the Cayman government regarding a new retail license agreement, its ability to complete the project under development in Baja California, Mexico, the future financial performance of its subsidiary that manufactures water treatment-related systems and products and provides design, engineering, management, operating, and other services applicable to commercial, municipal, and industrial water production, the collection of its delinquent accounts receivable in the Bahamas, its ability to integrate and profitably operate recently acquired subsidiary PERC Water Corporation, the possible adverse impact of the COVID-19 virus on the company's business, and various other risks, including those risk factors set forth under Part 1, Item 1A, Risk Factors in the company's annual report on Form 10-K. Any forward-looking statements made during the conference call speak as of today's date. The company expressly disclaims any obligation or undertaking to update or revise any forward-looking statements made during this conference call to reflect any change in its expectations with regard thereto, or any change in events, conditions, or circumstances on which any forward-looking statement is based, except as it may be required by law. Before we end today's conference call, I would like to remind everyone that this call will be available for replay starting later this evening and running through March 23rd. Please refer to today's earnings release for dial-in replay instructions available via the company's website at www.cwco.com. Thank you for joining us today. This concludes the conference call. You may now disconnect.